Christopher Columbus left his home in Italy to fight for his vision. He aimed to sail west to the riches of Asia. This is an era of discovery and lust for expansion, and it all began with the ambition of a queen. In Europe, the nobles have grown wealthy by trading with the East. Spices and gold, gemstones and silk are the most lucrative goods. But Europeans have lost the Silk Road to the Turks, and foreign trade is in decline. The wealth of kings is in danger. Isabella, Queen of Spain, is desperate to find new routes to India. And she has a plan.
Dejadlo pasar.
This is the most powerful woman in Europe, a continent of expanding horizons filled with competitive and inventive souls. For 500 years they have been building castles, palaces, centers of trade. Kings and popes have raised armies to fight each other and their enemies on Europe's borders. Nowhere else are rivalries so intense, gold fever so widespread, religious fervor and business expertise as tightly wound as in Europe in 1491. Ideas are advancing. Curiosity and the thirst for power push Europe's limits. They're seeking riches and land, heading towards the frontiers of their world. But no one can guess that far beyond the end of that world lies another, of which they know nothing. The Amazon is a crowded place. The Andes cradle a vast empire ruled by powerful god-kings. Mesoamerica may be the most densely populated place on Earth, home to the most imposing civilizations on the continent. And the Atlantic coast is filled with villages and fields. Along the rivers, great cities are built around monumental plazas and giant earthen mounds. It is an ancient world, inhabited by hunters and gatherers, fishermen and farmers, kings, slaves and soldiers. Down amongst the trees, where the Missouri, Illinois and Mississippi rivers merge, in what is today the state of Illinois, lies one of the most fertile zones of North America. It's home to one of the largest civilizations in the continent. The Mississippians, mound builders from the Great Lakes to Florida, flourishing in the year 1150. The first explorers thought these great mounds were natural, carved by retreating glaciers. Now we know that they were the centerpieces of cities, cities like Cahokia. Busy trading posts of earth and wood with populations of thousands of people. No one knows what they called themselves or what language they spoke. But we do know why they were successful. The Mississippians are farmers. Their staple crop is fuel for the ever-growing population. It is a plant native to the Americas, unknown to the rest of the world. Once they learned to grow it, they could stay in one place. This simple diet translated straight into the energy to build a civilization. But corn is not a blessing from nature, nor a gift of the gods. This crop is the outcome of man's first feat of selective breeding. Scientists realized relatively recently that the ability to grow corn is a key to high cultures in the Americas.
The staple crop in North America was corn. 6,000 years ago, ears of corn were only about as long as a person's thumb, and they were barely edible. It took thousands of years to develop a more nourishing and larger hybrid, and also a hybrid that could grow in cooler climates outside of Mesoamerica. And it wasn't until about 1,100 years ago that corn reached the Mississippi River Valley.
Corn is the result of the domestication of the wild teosinte grass. Early Americans started with this spindly stalk. And over the centuries, they developed it into today's giant cob. Archaeologists and biologists are still debating how corn was achieved out of a tiny Mexican wildgrass. Corn is one of the keys to understanding American civilization. Wherever it flourishes, so do great cultures. Yet the greatest American empire of them all is found where corn cannot grow, high in the Andes. The Inca Empire stretches nearly 2,500 miles down the west coast of South America. Incas built palaces, storehouses, and castles in the towering mountains. In their realm of 6 million people, they rely on manpower to transport stones. They have neither beasts of burden nor the wheel. And the energy for that is provided by another amazing foodstuff. Incas are famed for their gold, but their true treasure is less glamorous. A tuber native to America and unknown in Europe, cultivated here 8,000 years ago in the region around Lake Titicaca in today's Peru and Bolivia, at an altitude of 4,000 meters. What is now a staple food in Europe was a South American invention. By the year 1491, the Inca grow hundreds of varieties, domesticated from wild ancestors, some poisonous, some even carnivorous. 1,000 years ago, in one city alone, 30,000 tons of potatoes were produced every year. They preserved the tubers by mashing them into a substance called chuño. After harvest, potatoes are spread on straw and left out to freeze at night. During the day, they're exposed to the sun. Trampling them eliminates water and allows them to dry. Chuño can be stored for 10 years, an excellent insurance against possible crop failures. The Inca carved step-like terraces into the mountainsides to stop the soil eroding and create a flat surface for their crops. Terraces absorb more sunlight than steep slopes, so potatoes can grow at the highest altitudes. And all this is achieved by manpower alone, using wooden tools. In North and South America in 1491, farmers grow corn and potatoes for 100 million people. There's another continent across the ocean where 100 million more people survive growing very different food in a very different